Welcome those who are here with us and those that will join us asynchronously later. We are, Cam, for just a second. I'll inflict myself on you. Jonathan Wade here. We are glad to have you here with NCAT's Introduction to Gamification, and we got with us Dr. Jayme Linton. Dr. Linton is the coordinator of the Education and Technology Master's Program at Lenoir-Rhyne University, and one of her areas of specialty is in, she's been working in gamification and game-based learning and how it works in both digital and non-digital environments. And she's one of the leaders in educational technology in the state of North Carolina, so I'm quite glad to have her with us. We'll ask her whatever questions we can. As folks join us, I'll just keep reminding people to type any questions they have into the chat window, and she's going to run us through some of the ways that she's using 3D Game Lab and a few other tools. So welcome, Dr. Linton.
Thanks so much for having me.
So glad to have you. Okay, let me go to, hey, they just changed my interface. Share my screen. No, I want to option. Or maybe it's there. Now it's under attendees. All right, I'm going to make you presenter. There you go.
Okay. Okay, great. Right. Thanks, Dr. Wade. And Dr. Smith, I'm glad you're here. I hope that you can hear us. And yeah, like Dr. Wade mentioned, please feel free to use the chat box if you have questions at any time, if you want to share ideas. Since you are the live attendee, we can tailor this to you, so feel free to jump in at any time and let us know exactly what would make this a better experience for you. So Dr. Wade asked me to join you all this afternoon to talk a little bit about how I use gamification in the courses I teach at Lenoir-Rhyne University, and also just my thoughts about gamification versus game-based learning and how you can use gamification for personalized learning. And then I want to share with you some tools that I use for gamification and talk through some ways you can do that depending on what type of learning environment you are in. So let's start with some of the language around this issue of this idea of gamification. So we have two commonly used phrases or terms that are interchanged a lot, and that is game-based learning or game-inspired learning, and then gamification. So a lot of folks use those interchangeably, but actually they're very different things. So game-based learning, gaming, that is, learning through games. So actually playing games, engaging in simulations, playing video games, some games that were designed for education, some games that weren't designed for education but still have educational value. So that's what's referred to as gaming or game-based learning. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have gamification, which is not about playing games at all. Instead, gamification is applying game mechanics or game techniques to non-game environments. So, for example, when I gamify a course, that doesn't mean that the whole course is a game or that students will be playing games during the course. All that means, if I gamify a course, that just means that I'm taking mechanics from gaming and then I'm using it in a non-game setting like a course. So those, gaming mechanics include things like a narrative, things and experience points and badges and those sorts of things that people associate with playing games, levels and ranks and those sorts of things, achievements. The types of things that motivate people in game environments, we try to apply those to non-game environments to get that same level of engagement and motivation. But it doesn't mean folks are playing games. So taking those game mechanics and applying it to courses I teach or to professional development that I lead so that I can try to take some of those same factors about playing games that really motivate people when they're playing games and apply those to not games. Apply those to things that are not games, like a course, for instance. So one way I do that is I gamify one of the courses I teach here at the university. I teach a couple of different technology integration courses for different types of students. So I teach an undergraduate technology integration course. It's designed for our undergraduate teaching candidates, so the folks who are learning to be teachers. I also teach a technology integration course for graduate students who, some of whom are K-12 educators, some of whom are higher educators, some who are in the corporate world, and they are learning how to teach online, how to design online and teach online. So I teach technology courses for those two programs, and the technology courses that I teach for the past couple of semesters, I have been gamifying those courses. So gamifying those courses means I take the course content and I take the course tasks and the readings and the experiences, and I try to structure those into by using some game mechanics, so that they're not actually playing a game. So they're really completing a course. They're learning how to use technology in their classroom, but they get to experience some of the game type features in the course. So for example, they complete quests instead of assignments. When they complete their quests, they earn experience points. And when they earn a certain amount of experience points, they achieve a new level and a new rank. They can get special achievements and awards. They can unlock certain awards and achievements along the way. So all those features allow me to take those game mechanics and use those in a non-game setting in my courses. So I do think the language is important here, especially if you're trying to get people, administrators for example, to get on board with supporting gamification. It's important that you clarify there is a distinction here between playing games and using game mechanics for learning. So it's a very different thing. So I think if we use the right words, it might help us get our message across a little bit more clearly to the people who need to know. So in terms of personalized learning, an approach like gamification can make it a very personalized learning experience. So in the technology course I teach, for example, my students can take different pathways to course outcomes. They can choose some of their own course outcomes and design their own learning pathways to get there. So for instance, in one of my graduate level courses, the technology course, in the graduate program I coordinate here at the university, I have a very, very diverse group of students in that course. I have some folks who are first grade teachers. I have health and PE teachers. I have university professors. I have business folks, people who work in insurance. I have such a range of people, and I also, along with that, I have a very wide range of technology skills and experiences and backgrounds. So because of that, I create the course so that students are able to personalize their experience as they move through the course. Not every student needs to complete the same quest, so they can choose the quest they need based on their previous experiences. I also use a self-assessment to help with that. So not all students can readily identify the skills and experiences and backgrounds they bring with them, but a self-assessment I've found to be really helpful. So the self-assessment allows me and the students to identify what they already know, what they've already experienced, what their expertise is, and then help them as they try to tailor the learning experience to their specific learning needs. So then as they move through the course, they're all working to rank up. You know, they're all working to earn XPs, they're all working to earn those badges and move through the course. But by the time the course is said and done, all of my students will have had a different pathway, a different experience through the course. And gamification is one way that is possible. So that's a great question. So Jonathan just posted a question in the chat box. He asked, to what extent is a gamified approach, say using badges, different from just giving grades? So there's a couple of things at play here, I think. One of the differences is that to really do gamification well, there needs to be some sort of a narrative, some sort of a storyline like you would have if you were playing a video game. And that can give students a sense of purpose, like they're on a mission. They're on a mission to do something. where in a typical course or a typical classroom, you know, the teacher has a mission in mind, most likely, hopefully, but we don't often share that with students. But in a gamified learning environment, the instructor wants to be really clear up front about communicating that mission so students have this sense of buy-in, this purpose, like I'm setting off on this adventure or I'm setting off on this quest because I have a mission to complete. I have a purpose here, and the mission is made very clear to students from the beginning. And that mission or that purpose sort of drives the entire learning experience. It's really not just about racking up badges and experience points. So there really is some sort of driving purpose. There's a narrative. There's a mission that they're on a mission to solve some problem or to conquer some issue, and that gives them some motivation and some purpose to the work they're doing. Another way it's different from just giving grades is that gamification doesn't actually have to include grades at all. In the courses that I teach, my students don't get any grades until the end of the semester when I have to assign a grade for the university's grading purposes. But until that point, my students learn about me and what I'm thinking about their course. They learn about that through feedback. So I give feedback to my students with each quest they submit, and that feedback, they can use that feedback as they continue to progress through the course. But I don't assign an evaluation or a grade to any of the quests they submit. So if a student submits a quest and it's not what I expected or it's not the level of work that was expected for that specific quest, I give feedback and I return it back to them, and I give them opportunities to revise and resubmit. So they don't earn the experience points until they have successfully completed the quest. So that's one way that it's different, is that instead of giving an 85 here and a 60 here and a 93 here, the students are doing the work until it's good enough, until it's done really well. So I give them feedback, they revise and resubmit. I give feedback, they revise and resubmit. Once it's at a level that is expected, then they get approval for that, they get their experience points. They also get this sense of like, okay, I've learned through this. I might have made some mistakes, but I learned through those. And I've just, they have this sense of accomplishment instead of like, oh, I just gave a 75, and then you feel like, oh, I got a 75, that's not good enough, but I guess I better move on and try to do better next time. So students get to keep revisiting that content until it's good enough, until they've gotten it and they've done it well and they've mastered it, and then they move on to the next quest. And so to do my grading system, I just have a chart that I share with my students, and it just the number of XPs they earn correlate to different grades at the end of the course. And I share that with them at the very beginning of the semester. I even created a progress bar. You know how if you're typically working through some online program, maybe an online survey or a game, you'll see a progress bar and it'll kind of shade in little fractions of the bar as you move through it. So I created a progress bar for the gamified courses that I teach, and the students can use that progress bar to check their progress and see how close they are to the number of points they need for an A at midterm, for example, or the number of points they need for a B. So students set a goal that says, I'm going to get an A in this course, or I'm okay with a C in this course, and this is how many XPs I need. But they only earn the XPs by demonstrating mastery as they work through the quests. Are there other questions just about overall the differences between gamification and game-based learning, or about how it can be used to personalize learning experience for students? Absolutely, definitely focused on mastery here. So I have some resources I can share with you and just sort of do a demo, and I can go do that now unless there are other questions here in the GoToMeeting space. Okay, so I'll go ahead and switch over to a screen share here. I have actually, Dr. Smith, I have actually used this approach with professional development, and I will share, I'll share that with you in just a moment. I have a screen share I can do. Okay, are you able to see my screen?
I can see it.
Okay,
I can only
great.
see your web.
Do you see my 3D game lab?
No, that's not coming up. Let me see. Huh. You go back to there. It is.
Okay, you see it?
Yes.
Okay, great. So let me address Dr. Smith's question and also just show how what my course looks like. So this is one of the courses that I gamified, and I used 3D Game Lab for that course. So all the quests are here, and you can see it just ranks them in alphabetical order here, but I could change, I could rank them by, or I could sort them by these different columns if I'd like. So students submit all their work here, all their quests through 3D Game Lab, and they show up for me here in this quest approver. Now the semester just ended last week, so I have no quest to approve, but you can see this semester in this one course I approved 1,137 quests in the semester, which is a lot. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of learning. And a lot of these were multiple attempts, like I described earlier, where students had to revise and resubmit multiple times. Now I can also return quests, like I mentioned, if a student submits something and it's not satisfactory, it's not up to mastery level, I can return it. And for students, it'll show up in their in progress column. So they can submit it, they can see my feedback, and they can resubmit, or since there's a personalized learning plan here, students can choose, if they really struggled with a specific quest, they can choose to just forego that and focus on something different. Now, there were some specific quests that I required for all students. So there were some quests that I felt like were really foundational to the course that I wanted all of my students to complete, regardless of their background or their experiences. So I set those at the beginning as required quests for everyone. And I built the course so that it would unlock different quests as students moved through. What I didn't want to happen was students to sign in at the beginning of the semester and see, 150 quests and just be overwhelmed and sort of checked out from the beginning. What I wanted was for them to have this experience that would unfold as they continued venturing through the course. So what I did is I used prerequisites to make that happen. So certain quests have prerequisites that depend on other quests having been completed first. So I used prerequisites and categories of quests to first ensure that all of my students got the same foundational content and the same foundational skills and experiences. Once those common quests were completed, then several different pathways opened up that students could pursue, again, based on their experiences, their expertise, their future career goals, and those sorts of things. Now I want to show you my planning approach for planning out or mapping out this course. And I actually learned about this in last fall. I was introduced first to this template through an NCAT course that I was fortunate to be a part of. It was an NCAT course all about gamification, and that course helped me tremendously in revising my gamification approach and learning a lot about 3D Game Lab. So this is a spreadsheet that was shared with me. I did not create it, but it was shared with me, and I'd be happy to share with you that helped me map out the course in advance. So here are the quests that I designed, and they're grouped into categories. So I have like a category here and then my quest chain within that category. And I estimated, how long I thought it would take, and then I developed XPs or experience points based on how long that quest would take. So typically, roughly an hour would have been worth 100 experience points. That's how I tried to match up the experience points for the time spent in the course. And then I just did details here for me. So then when I'm building this in 3D Game Lab, I can give it this category, and then I can set things as prerequisites. So for example, I could create everything in this second category as having the prerequisite of completing the first category of quests. So once students complete the first category, they earn a badge for that, and then they can move up to the second category of quests and so on. Now I made a version of this spreadsheet that was a little bit simpler and shared it with students. I can show you what that one looks like because I wanted to be very transparent with students, and I wanted them to see how the course was laid out, and to be able to map their own course, to chart their own course, so to speak. So here's what that looked like for students. They didn't need to see everything that I needed to see in planning for the course, but I wanted them to see how the course would unfold and to see what sorts of things were dependent on previous things. So this is the map that students had access to at the very beginning of the semester in thinking about planning ahead for the course. So basically, kind of sort of a point a minute would be about how it would work out. Really did about an hour to 100 points. I know Lucas Gillespie uses that same sort of system for determining experience points. So in addition to mapping out all of the quests, I also had to develop rewards. So I wanted to reward students as they completed things in the course. So they earn experience points, but then those experience points are things they can cash in for rewards. So there are some rewards that are automatic, and then there are some that were manual, some that were chosen by me. The automatic ones are things like badges. So as soon as they would complete a category of quests, they would earn a badge for that quest. So I created a badge for each category or group of quests. And then 3D Game Lab automatically awarded that badge once that category was complete. And then there were some other automatic ones I created just to motivate students to move quickly through the course. They got these sorts of automatic achievements. And then I created some manual awards that I could give just for recognizing excellence throughout the course. And now all these achievements and badges and awards are associated with additional experience points students can earn. And then I also had to decide what were my rankings going to be. So every student started the course as a beginner, and then they moved toward becoming a technology adventurer. So I set the ranks here, and I determined how many experience points were needed to achieve each rank. And I also set it up so that each rank unlocked a little fun sort of hidden gem, something that wouldn't have shown up for them in the course until they got to that ranking. Sometimes it was a game, so it would unlock a game and they would have a little game break, and then they would actually have to play this game and then submit a screenshot of them playing the game to earn the experience points for that little game break. And then other times it was a video break, so it would just be an inspirational video, a funny video about teaching, something for them that I just thought they would enjoy, and just to have a few minutes to sort of relax, enjoy, and get refreshed before they set off on the next category of quests. So this was my roadmap for building the whole course, and then as I got into 3D Game Lab, the course development actually went pretty quickly because I had already made the tough choices about what comes first and what is a prerequisite for this, and this will lead to what, and how will the awards be associated here. Absolutely, you can ensure that students get their own copy of the roadmap if you want them to be able to check it off. There's one really easy way to do that. So one way would just be to make it a PDF or a Word document and share it with them, and they can do it that way. But I created mine in Google Docs, and there's a great way to do that in Google Docs. If you create the roadmap in Google Docs and then you click the blue share button, you want to get a link to share with students. So you'd want to get this link. But what you would want to do before you share the link with students is you would want to change the very end of this link from this / on where it says edit and then sharing. You want to change all this, and instead you would want it to say copy. So I would take this right here and I would copy it. And then let's say I was going to email it to my students. Let's say I'm going to email it here, and I want to paste that link, but I'd want to take all this part off here at the end, past the / and change it to say copy. Now when I share that link with students, what it does is when they open up this template, it automatically prompts them to make a copy of the template. They can't actually access the template without making a copy of it first if I give them this link. So that's one way to ensure that all students will be working from a copy of the template or a copy of the roadmap. Oh, it wasn't sharing that. So that's one way to ensure that all students will be prompted to make a copy. I can show you right now. I'm going to put a link in the chat box here. And so what I've done is I've copied the sharing link from Google Docs, and I just changed the very last part where it said edit, and I put copy. So now if you open that link, it's going to prompt you to make a copy of it, and you won't be able to open the document without making your own copy. So that's one way to do that. I'll also do that. I will do that right now with my planning template. So that was the student's roadmap. Let me share with you my course roadmap so that you can make your own copy of that as well. Okay, here that comes. Copy. Okay, so just change everything after the forward slash to copy. Everything after the forward slash to copy, and that gives you a link that forces students to copy the document before they can use it. It's a great little trick that I use a lot in courses so that all my students don't start working on the same document. Sometimes you want them all to work on the same document, and sometimes you don't. So let me answer Dr. Smith's question about using this in professional development. Lucas Gillespie is brilliant, as is Alice Keeler. Alice Keeler actually created, she is a Google Docs wizard, and she actually created a template that looks a lot like this, that has some different content in it. She created this template as a Google spreadsheet to use to gamify courses or gamify professional development. And the template has everything built in it that you need. All you have to do is change the title and description of the quest you want folks to complete. So let me walk you through how this works. I first saw Alice share this on Twitter and on her blog a few months ago. And then at the NC TIES conference this past March, the annual conference for the North Carolina Technology and Education Society, Lucas Gillespie presented a session there about how he is gamifying professional development for all the teachers in his district. So Lucas is technology director or something of that sort in Surrey County Schools, and he has developed quests in 3D Game Lab for professional development. So teachers earn badges and experience points, and they complete quests as they do professional development, and then those correlate to earning CEUs. So what he does is he uses the formula, just like I do, the 100 experience points for every hour of contact time in 3D Game Lab, and then all those hours of contact time add up to earn credits, CEUs for teachers. So he uses this, he used this spreadsheet in a session at NC TIES, and it was so much fun. Dr. Wade was actually in the session, I believe, and several of my friends were in there. It was a lot of fun. So here's what Lucas did. He presented the session, and throughout the session, we were able to complete these very small sort of mini quests, and we got to earn badges and rank up, get different levels just by completing these little quests. Now these aren't the same quests as him that he used, because what I did then is I took his template and I changed it for a professional development session I just led a couple of weeks ago. So about a week and a half ago, I was invited to present at the Teacher of the Year Summit, the North Carolina Teacher of the Year Summit. It was a lot of fun. And so I presented a session on building a personal learning network. And I decided to gamify that session. So Dason Passion, who is a teacher in Alamance Burlington school system, he and I presented together, and we used this spreadsheet to gamify the session we were doing. Now, not everybody participated. We shared the link with everybody. We used that little copy trick to make sure that everyone would open the link and it would prompt them to make their own copy, because you want everyone, with this spreadsheet in particular, you want everyone working with their own copy. I'm going to paste a copy for you in the GoToMeeting chat box and change that to copy so you can see how easy this is, and you can do your own. So during a professional development session, you would share this with your participants, share the link in a way that it prompts them to copy, and then during the professional development session, they have just very short miniature quests to complete. And once they complete a quest, they just check it off with an X in this first column here, column A, and it automatically gives them the badge for that. And in addition to giving them the badge, it automatically levels them up. So you can see there are different difficulty levels depending on how complex or difficult the task is. Once it's complete, they earn the badge for that, and they get a new ranking up here. So some folks like me and Dr. Wade in this session who are really competitive and motivated by this sort of thing, we were ranking up, as fast as we can do, as fast as we could go, and there were all sorts of silly things hidden here as quests. So Alice has already set up this entire template. She's already created the images for the badges, and she's already linked them all right here. So this third sheet here in the spreadsheet has the link to all the badges. And she's created most of these using drawing in Google Docs, and some she may have found in some places, I'm not sure. What all you would have to do to use this is change these titles and change these descriptions to something else you would want teachers to do. And some of these may be things that you could keep and would work for, some of these are sort of generic and might work in any setting. A lot of them you would want to change. Now, when you change them, you might also want to change the badge because, for example, this badge is specific to doing something with Twitter because it's a Twitter badge. Some of them are, a little bit less specific, but a lot of them are very specific to what the task is asking them to do. So all you'd have to do is either create or find images for those badges and put the link to that image right here. So these are the links to the image. So this link is a link to this image, and it's associated with task number 7. So you can make those changes if you want to change the image to reflect something different. So this is a really easy way to gamify a professional development session. I probably spent 10 minutes changing the tasks in this spreadsheet to match the things that teachers will be doing in my professional development session. Excuse me. You're right. So Dr. Wade, there probably are some teachers who really just want to go to professional development to sit and not be active and not be engaged. But that's why this is approached in sort of an optional way. So it gives people who want this, sort of an extra motivating level. I'm not the type of person to sit and listen. I will zone out so quickly if I don't have something to do, something to physically get engaged with. So for me, this works really well. And so it's cool. You would think, well, if everybody's playing the game, they must not be paying attention, but that's actually not the case at all. What happened for me, I can speak from experience. In Lucas's session, I was trying to go through and I was doing all these quests, but I was hearing everything he said. Now, I didn't look at all of his slides because I was focused on my own device and leveling up, but I was listening to him. And if he was talking about something that I really needed to see an example of, then I would look at the slides and look up. But for me, this was so much more of an engaging experience as opposed to him just standing at the front of the room and talking about how he gamifies PD. I actually got to experience it myself, and it was such a better experience. I remember so much more of the things he shared with us because I had something that mentally engaged me the entire time. There were enough tasks to last the entire session, and it gave me challenges and it kept me motivated. And I certainly did not zone out at all during the session. So that's one idea for gamifying professional development. You could also do a similar approach without the spreadsheet or without any technology at all. You could give teachers just a handout of tasks that they have to complete during the professional development. And then they can either, they can use sticky dots or some way on their tables to show you what's been done, and you could go around and give badges or rewards based on what groups have done at their tables. So, you could take these same concepts and apply it in an environment with absolutely no technology. The spreadsheet, now, it makes it really easy to manage because the teacher doesn't have to do anything here, or the professional development leader doesn't have to do anything during the session. It's all self-managed. But if you wanted to use it in an environment without technology, or if you really want to model for teachers how to do this without technology, because that's what they're going to ask, then take this idea and think about how you can make it work in a room with tables and chairs and pencils and paper and maybe little badges that you've cut out of paper, or just stickers. It could just be stickers that teachers earn as they're working through. Or it could be, a pass to wear jeans for a day. It's amazing what teachers will do to wear jeans for a day. That's what I've experienced. Or to go off campus for a meal one day or something like that. So there are ways you can motivate teachers and give them the same idea of completing quests and getting motivated by earning badges or levels while they're engaged in a professional development session of some sort. And speaking of technology and the lack of technology in our classrooms, I just finished reading a couple of weeks ago Lee Sheldon's book, which is called The Multiplayer Classroom. And Lee's book is all about gamification, but it's not about technology at all. So in his entire book, he describes how he gamified courses without technology. So he's a college professor, and he actually teaches video game design and character development and those types of courses. So that's his experience. He's a game developer, and he teaches game development courses. And so he thought, what better to teach game development, what better way to teach game development than to have my classes be gamified. So what he does is he has students on the first day of class, they choose their avatar, they create an avatar. They also form guilds and give their guilds names, and then they rearrange the furniture, and they have different zones or different locations for their quests to happen in the classroom just by moving the furniture around. So he sort of gamifies the whole learning space, and then the entire syllabus is set up in terms of quests and experience points, and he really takes some of the video game terminology to an extreme. Just they have to, like the midterm is a boss they have to defeat and that sort of thing. But he uses all that gaming terminology, and then he's in a non-technology environment. He's been doing this for years before his students would have been able to bring laptops to class, and is not dependent upon technology at all. But he's just using the language of gaming and the ideas like having avatars and completing quests and having different zones of the classroom for different types of adventures. So students get the feel of playing a game, but they're really doing, they're doing the coursework, but he's been very careful to structure the learning environment and the syllabus into a gamified approach. Okay, so Dr. Wade just shared an article about Lee Sheldon's work. His book, The Multiplayer Classroom, is geared, he writes about his experience as a professor and how he has gamified his courses, but throughout the course, or throughout the book, he has vignettes from other folks, from elementary up to secondary education and even out in the business world and community college. He has vignettes where other people have written in about how they have used gamification in their courses. So even though the book is mostly him describing his college courses, it's interspersed with vignettes from people who are not college instructors. And also I think any educator, K-12 or secondary or post-secondary, could consider how to apply those game mechanics he uses in his classroom to any grade level or any content area. There were so many times when I was reading the book where I thought, oh, I want to go back and teach fourth grade again so bad, because as a fourth grade teacher, I could see, on the first day of school when my students walk in and I tell them, okay, here's your sentence strip, I want you to write your avatar, come up with an avatar. This is going to be your avatar for the year. And the classroom would have different spaces or different zones set up for the guilds to work in, and the exams and the assignments they would do would be quests they would have to complete and bosses to defeat. I just think my fourth graders would have had so much fun with that. So yeah, I think there are applications for what he does in all kinds of environments, with or without technology. Now the technology makes it a breeze to manage, and the technology makes it so much easier to personalize. If I wanted to take my technology course that I've been teaching for several semesters and personalize it for students, if I didn't have 3D Game Lab, it would be a lot more difficult to do that. Now, it wouldn't be impossible, but it would take a lot of time on my part to manage all of those different pathways for students, because there are not a lot of other programs that are set up or that are designed to make that personalized learning manageable. But 3D Game Lab, with its use of prerequisites and levels, ranks, and badges, it makes it very easy to customize a learning experience for students and to allow them to have choice and customize their own learning experience. So that's where I think the real value is in the technology. It makes it so easy for students to get immediate feedback, for the instructor to get immediate feedback, for the students to self-monitor, and for the teachers to monitor the progress through these pathways and to manage the experience points, the badges, and that sort of thing. But it's certainly doable without technology, or with, with very minimal technology. It's doable, especially if you apply some of Lee Sheldon's techniques. And his is a very non-digital approach to gamification, and he certainly makes it work. So Jonathan, that was my sharing. Those are the things I wanted to demo. Are there other things you'd like for me to address, or are there questions here I could speak to?
Just unmuted everybody. Can you hear me, Jayme?
Yes.
Okay. If we have, does anyone else have any questions? I thank you so much for that. Yeah, Lee Sheldon's approach is really, really nice. Any of our current listeners have any particular questions that you have? I have a couple of other things. Most of this is in the very last quest that we have in our, or the very last page that we have in our particular, hold on. Did you just give me the scroll back there, Jayme? Let me see.
Oh no, let me figure out how to do that.
I'll send you a request.
Okay, I see. Thanks.
Okay, I think I have it now. Let's see if you guys can see my screen there. Oh, I have to become the presenter now. Let's see. Make me the presenter. There you go. Show my screen. Okay, do you see my introduction to gamification, or do you see your picture?
I see your screen.
Is it the screen, though, that has the twirly thing in it?
It
and
is.
you? Okay, let me switch to the other monitor. I got two monitors.
Okay.
I've got to change monitors. Or I could just take this and bring it over here. There we go. All right. So I'll move you over there. There we go. All right. Now can you see it?
Yes.
All right. So I just wanted to show everybody that in this, really the final module in our very simple course, and again, just for the folks that are joining us, this course is actually a response to, we had what Dr. Linton was talking about, where we had a deep dive into gamification, where you kind of jumped into 3D Game Lab and you had to complete all the quests, and we had, of about 90 people who got into it, we had about 20 that just loved it and are doing some amazing things, including her. And then we had some that was just too much too fast, and they asked for us a version that was a little more simple. And we gave you a very simple version, which is this course that you've been walking through. But on this very last page, if you all haven't gotten there yet, there's a few resources you may want to know about. One of the most famous kind of beginning serious games talk, which serious games are a little different from gamification, but it's the idea that games can make a difference in the world, or is this Jane McGonigal talk. And if you haven't heard that, it's definitely worth hearing. But I also have some connections to Graphite and some other games. I've got a whole Scoops page that you can look at, and then you can follow both of us on Twitter, actually. Jayme, do you want to put your handle in on the chat board?
Yes.
And so there are a lot of different directions to go, and there's a lot of different ways that gamification and game elements can be added to the classroom. And I just want to emphasize that there is the reality is that there's a lot you can do, and that each person is a little different. One of the things it does, though, it adds that element of choice, and it gives the kids the freedom to do their work in another way. And I hope you got a little picture of how even in professional development, it can be a way of freeing teachers up to feel like that's something they actually want to be a part of rather than something they have to sit through. Because all of us that have worked with professional development have encountered teachers that have both sorts of attitudes. If you have something like we were describing that happened at NC Ties, people may have been a little freaked out, but I think everybody was glad to be there. I think everybody was exactly the way you were, Jayme. You had this feeling. Well, it's so engaging and it's amazing. So, again, I thank you, the two of you that are our live people, and the others that are watching this after the fact. We're glad to have had you, and feel free to follow us both on Twitter, direct message us. I think I put it in there, but just in case, my Twitter handle is that, and it's been our pleasure. And I wish you all the best for the rest of this evening. And thank you again, Dr. Linton, for your wisdom and for all the neat things that you're doing for North Carolina and the folks here in the public school systems, particularly.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Lots of other people too, but thank you for what you're doing for the public school systems.
Absolutely. Thanks so much.
All right, we'll talk to you all soon, and I look forward to seeing the folks that are in the classes. You're filled out. Unfortunately, I still have a worksheet, so I'm still working to get into the 21st century for finishing this up. But we had so many people with so many different tech issues that we found that some of them were blocked from Google, so we're looking at other options. At this point, right now, the downloadable PDF is the best deal. So sometimes simple's better. All right, well, y'all have a good evening, and we'll touch base with you later.
Thanks. Take care.
All right. All right, I am.